all of you fellow type 1s out there. This is Dr. Jody, and today I'm going to be talking about what you need to think about after you dose at meal times. Very important topic. If you're just finding me, welcome. I have, let's see, today is how many Facebook Lives? I have done today's 112 Facebook Lives since COVID began back in the end of March. I myself have had type 1 for 40 years, and I was moved when all of this began to really be a source of light and education and inspiration for all of us living with type 1. And so I decided to just come on Facebook and give a lot of tips and education, and I'm so happy that you found me. And I've been working virtually with patients with type 1 for almost 10 years, and I walk in your shoes every day. I understand how complicated type 1 is. I understand how challenging it is to live with. I can understand how scary it is. I got diagnosed in 1980 when I was 7, and I've been in your shoes. All the frustrations that you've had, I've had, or my mom has had if you're a parent that's watching. And I'm here to say I've lived a healthy life with type 1 for 40 years. I have lots of patients that are even at 45 years and 50 years. And so it's possible. It's absolutely possible. So today I wanted to expand on the video I did on Monday. I did videos Monday through Friday for the first 20 weeks. And so that's when I got to my 100th Facebook Live. And now I do them twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, right around 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. So I just had my lunch. I had an open face sandwich, and I'm a little high right now. And for those of you that use millimole, you just divide that by 18. And I just gave myself insulin right when I ate, which, right, is, even if I eat low carb, I go up right away. I was probably 90 before I ate. And so I was a little slow with doing my pre-dose. So I'm a little bit high. And as you know, if you've been following me for a while, I have given myself insulin less than an hour ago. So it hasn't even peaked yet. So as soon as I get off this Facebook Live, I'm going to go for a bike ride because that will make my insulin work faster. So this is the topic for today, is how long does your insulin work after you dose, right? So it does not start working until at least 15 minutes, okay? So it's not going to even do anything for 15 minutes. Then the peak time, now I'm talking Humalog and Novolog. Those are the most common rapid insulins used, right? I think it's a misnomer that it's called rapid because we all know they're not that rapid. So it then peaks, which means that its strongest effect of lowering the blood sugar anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes, all right? And then it can stay in the system for hours. It can stay in the system for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. Now, I'm sure you've seen charts that show the timeline, but as with everything in diabetes it depends, okay? Your insulin to carb ratio, it depends. How long your insulin stays in your system, it depends. Diabetes is a dance, and we have to learn to use critical thinking and make adjustments every day. That is one of my passionate teaching points that, for those of you following me for a while now, know. Like, the reason why there's so many of us that feel burnt out and frustrated with unhealthy A1Cs above 6.5, yes, above 6.5 is not healthy, is because we've been given this tiny little toolbox to try to master our disease. But yet we need a much bigger toolbox. And that is my goal, is to give you the full amount of tools that you need. So when it comes to how long your insulin works, it actually depends on a lot of things. Number one, what time of day are you giving it? If you're giving it while you're sleeping, it will last longer and the peak will be later. If you're giving it in the morning, if you have an intense dawn phenomenon with cortisol, again, it will peak later. It will last longer. If you give it and then you suddenly go for a bike ride, it will start working faster and it will peak faster and it will be out of your system faster. If we're talking about a 1-unit dose, it will be out of your system faster. If we're talking about a 7-unit dose, it will last in your system longer. So you have to be aware of all of these variables every day. One thing that, if you follow my, if you work with me privately or are a graduate of my mealtime dosing course, which is on my website. It's called How to Properly Dose at Meal Times and Why Carb Counting is Not Enough. you'll know that one dose per meal is often not adequate, right? If you give all this insulin at one shot, you are going to have a nice peak and then it's going to go out, right? But what if you're eating a slow, long digesting meal? You don't want a big peak of insulin and then have it go out, right? You'll probably have to do multiple doses. You might have to exercise a little bit after your shot if you want it to work faster, if you're already high at the beginning of your meal, right? So these are all the kind of variables that I want you guys to know about, that I want you to know about. And you can learn from them either from watching my videos. I have a lot of resources on my website that will help you. I'm passionately doing these because I walk in your shoes every day. I've had type 1 since 1980, and I'm acutely aware of how many of us don't have the support and understanding and education that we need. So today I just want you to really think about your insulin on board, meaning only the rapid on board. It really varies in its intensity, when it's going to peak, how long it's going to stay in your system, right? So it's got that window that can move depending on what time of day, depending on how active you are, right? And then you have to change your dosing to make its peak fit depending on what you're eating, right? If you're eating a slow digesting, high protein, high fat meal, you certainly don't want a whole bunch of insulin all up front because then it'll peak. Of course, you'll go low. And then as your food continues to digest, but your insulin is wearing out, then you go high, right? That's why I teach about microdosing in my course, Mealtime Dosing, why carb counting is not enough. You also can learn to play with your dose in order to not go low with exercise. This is one of my favorite things to teach. And I teach that in my Master Your Blood Sugar with Exercise course. But I want you to know that there's only one thing that makes us go low, generally, and that is insulin. Okay? If you stop taking all your insulin, which I don't recommend you to do at all, of course, you'll go into DKA, go to the hospital, not cool. But you could not go low. If you don't have any insulin injected, you couldn't go low. Okay, now there's certain people with hypoglycemia issues and metabolic issues like that. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the majority of us that inject insulin every day. So really understanding how to dose your insulin properly can help you exercise and not worry about going low. It was amazing when I finally learned how to do that in my 20s after spending my whole teenage and childhood stuffing my mouth before a workout. So I hope this tips helps you. I want to expand your mind into thinking about all these variables. Okay, so Susan says hello. Susan, you're my one comment today. So we've got lots of people watching. Always love to hear your comments. Even if you're watching this on the recording, what did you learn from today's video? What did you like? Please check out my website for more support. If you're struggling with type 1, if you're sick of highs and lows, if your A1C is above 6.5, I'm here to help. So I'll be back on Monday. I hope to see you then. My website is drjodynd.com. You guys have a great week, and I'll be back on Monday. Bye for now.